Open your phone and you are immediately hit by a relentless stream of conflicting information, manufactured outrage, and digital noise. We are constantly told that we are drowning in an inescapable flood of fake news. In late 2017, executives from major tech platforms sat before the United States Senate to explain how a single Russian troll farm, the Internet Research Agency, managed to push content into the feeds of 126 million Americans during an election year. This diagram illustrates two competing ways human beings process truth. On one side is analytical truth, cold, objective facts grounded in observation and data. On the other side is ideological truth, warm, passionate beliefs rooted entirely in shared values and tribal identity. Modern influence operations don't waste time arguing over analytical facts. They entirely ignore that side of the scale to specifically target and exploit the ideological side of our cognition, weaponizing our pre-existing beliefs. This creates what intelligence analysts call a constructivist vortex. It is a psychological trap where the target, you, becomes an active collaborator. When you react to a manipulated post, you generate real engagement, and the algorithm pushes that content to thousands of others. The real weight of a disinformation campaign is provided by the audience. When a target group reacts with predictable anger to a lie, they provide the energy needed to turn a cheap fabrication into a concrete social conflict. To see how this psychological mechanism is weaponized by a state, we have to look at the Cold War. This is the former headquarters of the East German Ministry of State Security, better known as the Stasi. Inside, a brass inscription spells out their exact operating philosophy. Philosophers have only interpreted the world. The point, however, is to change it. Department X, the Stasi's elite disinformation unit, existed specifically to alter reality through active measures. They built a massive machine to execute this mandate. The archives hold over 111 kilometers of paper detailing these operations, proving that psychological warfare was an industrialized, highly bureaucratic daily routine. In April 1972, West German Chancellor Willy Brandt faced a historic vote of no confidence. To ensure his survival, the Stasi forged documents and successfully manipulated a conservative member of parliament into voting against his own party leader. The targeted politician cast his ballot genuinely believing he was protecting his allies and advancing his own political goals. In reality, he was executing a carefully constructed enemy agenda without ever realizing he was being used as an asset. Intelligence officers running these analog campaigns faced a major logistical hurdle. They had no reliable metrics or data feedback to measure the exact impact of an isolated forged letter planted among a foreign population. Over decades, a highly successful influence operation becomes indistinguishable from organic history. The original deception fades into the background, leaving only the resulting political friction. A faked document that successfully triggers a real parliamentary vote leaves a permanent mark on a nation's timeline. By engineering an event that produces tangible political consequences, the intelligence agency physically manufactures reality. 40 years later, the internet stripped away the need for secret apartments and carefully recruited human assets. Remote servers and automated code reduced the financial cost and physical risk of running active measures to near zero. Today, platforms are designed to reward high-emotion content. Hostile actors can simply plant a divisive idea and rely on algorithms to do the distribution, effectively outsourcing the labor of spreading disinformation to citizens. When a state actor amplifies a controversial issue online, the resulting offline action is incredibly complex. A street protest might be organized and funded by an adversarial power, but the citizens marching hold genuine political convictions. Authentic anger and manipulated outrage become hopelessly entangled. This bar chart shows how we misinterpret the scale of these campaigns. We often measure a post by its massive impressions, but filtering that data to show only meaningful engagements shrinks the physical reach to a tiny fraction. Our tendency to obsessively track and report on these massive, inflated metrics actually benefits the attacker. By hyper-measuring the noise and reacting with intense public anxiety, we provide the exact momentum required to turn cheap digital friction into severe political division. Fact-checking struggles because it operates on a timeline that human emotion ignores. By the time a claim is verified or debunked, the story has already moved through thousands of networks, leaving behind an impression that a simple false tag can rarely erase. Instead of solely fact-checking the data, we must practice intent checking. When a post, article, or video triggers a sudden spike in your heart rate, you have to pause and critically evaluate who specifically benefits from your emotional outrage. This illustrates an approach called peace marketing. Rather than opposing vectors fracturing, scattered forces deliberately realign into a single, unified direction. To make this work, diplomats must adopt the exact same targeting tools used by corporate advertisers and hostile intelligence agencies. We saw these tactics applied during the Colombian peace process. Negotiators integrated formal marketing strategies into their diplomatic outreach, crafting specific appeals to both paramilitary factions and marginalized citizens to secure a sustainable resolution to a 50-year conflict. States have historically used this kind of integrative messaging strictly for aggressive nation-building or wartime mobilization. Today, the mechanics of mass persuasion must be deployed transparently to market stability and mutual empathy. Information is the raw material used to build our shared reality. Choosing to actively design positive narratives and questioning the impulses that drive our own outrage is how we begin to stabilize a fractured society.